All right. All right. What up, everybody? So, first time ever doing any sort of live stream on here. So there's a lot going on. I'm currently streaming in 3 different places. But I wanted to just go live and try it out. And essentially what we're going to do is we are going to answer questions. So if you have questions, please ask them in the chat. If there's nothing being asked, then I'm going to go and read through some old comments on videos. So, okay. I'm planning on building my ratings while I work my first job post-college grad to avoid debt, going civilian route. Do you think it's still worth working towards with hope that hiring turns by 2030? Okay, 2 parts to this. First off, absolutely, I think so. The honest truth is nobody really knows what the hiring is going to do. However, everything is pointing to it's going to pick up in the next few years. The wave of retirements essentially got pushed back. I think the new projection is that the new biggest amount of retirements is going to happen in about 2032. I think, and up until then, we're going to have about 4,000 to 5,000 pilots retiring every single year, with it peaking in 2032. So absolutely, I think that we saw a lull over the last little bit, simply because, people hired way too many, and they realized that they hired too many and slowed it back down. But I think it's absolutely going to pick up, even just going into next year. I think it's going to pick up. Awesome. Hey, I watch your videos all the time. Glad to finally catch you live. Congrats on your hiring, man. Thanks for all the insights you've shared through your journey. I have plenty of questions. Well, ask them, man. And thanks so much. That means the world to me. I've been a CFI for 2.5 years. And I think the fact that it's kind of coming to an end, my last day is actually this Thursday. So the fact that, it's coming to an end just is kind of scary. So I'm barely 40 hours in and doing part 61. What part did you do? So it's kind of a weird question. That's kind of a complicated question. Sorry, not weird question. All in all, it was part 61. However, for my instrument and my commercial rating, I went to ATP flight school. For private, I did at a local part 61 school, instrument commercial at ATP, which is still technically part 61, but it's formatted very similar to like a part 141 school. And then after my commercial, I decided I didn't want to do my flight instructor rating through them. So I left that and went back to the old mom and pop school that I did my private at. And then that's actually where I've been instructing for the last while as well. So good question. Sweet. I want to chase my dreams, but I don't want to go into debt for it because the outlook isn't great right now. So I'm taking my time and working and paying as I go. I hope you approve of that. Absolutely, man. I think that if you can find a way to make it happen to where you are paying for it as you go and you don't need to go into debt, I think that's obviously the best way to do it. Even if you have to sacrifice and it takes you just a little bit longer to get there, I think that's absolutely a good way to go. So good for you, man. All right. Do you know how long your airline training will take? I know a rough idea. So they sent me a rough, kind of estimated schedule. I won't know for sure until day 1 of training, but the kind of estimated schedule they sent me was about 2 months. And then it'll be, I think, about a year probation after that. And after the 2 months of training, I'll have to do some line checks and stuff like that. So. Oh, love your content. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. How hard is the FOI on a scale from 1 to 10? BGI, how hard on a scale from 1 to 10? IGI, how hard on... Okay. FOI, I actually really enjoyed FOI training. So for those of you guys that don't know, FOI is Fundamentals of Instruction. I really learned doing Fundamentals of Instruction because it's essentially how people learn. It's the written test that you have to take before you get your CFI. I really enjoyed doing that. I don't think it's necessarily difficult because you essentially, you use Shepherd Air for all of it. It's going to teach you all the questions and you go from there. I actually didn't do any of the other ground instructor ratings, so I can't tell you that. But so AGI and IGI, I don't know about BGI, but I'm pretty sure all you do is take the written test and then you get handed that certificate. So I can't imagine that it would be super difficult, but I didn't do those myself. All I have is just my normal CFI. Awesome. All right, so I got this question on one of my most recent videos, and it's I'm 50 years old. My question to you is, how is ATP program comparable to United Aviate? So Aviate has two kind of branches to it. There is the United Aviate Academy as well as the United Aviate program. So the two differences is the Academy is a flight school owned and operated by United. It's completely their own thing. I think it's an accelerated course, so to say, and at the end you are guaranteed you're not guaranteed a job, but if you go through one of their regionals, then you essentially get the same flow through program as you would at just going through the program. I think it's, off the top of my head, I think it's 1,600 hours at one of their regionals, and then you flow up to the next available United class. So ATP is another accelerated program that is, as far as I'm aware, probably the fastest way to get your certificates, at least fastest, big name. I'm sure that there's some smaller schools that say they'll get you done faster. ATP, going there, will allow you to get into the Aviate program. It's one of their partner schools. So if you want to go to the Aviate Academy and you want to go all in on a flight academy owned by an airline and kind of get airline style training, I think that would be a good school. ATP, I mean, it's going to be the fastest thing you've ever done, and it's tough, but they will get you done fast. And from what I've seen, it seems like airlines kind of like hiring ATP grads because it's structured like airline training from day one. So hopefully that answered your question. Let's see. I did some research, man. If you go to ATP with a PPL or any 2-year degree, it says that it's cheaper. So I went that route, and I was already some hours in when I started thinking of ATP. Yep. So if you go in with your private pilot's license, I think it saves you, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I wish that I did, but I think it saves you like $25,000 if you go in with your private. And something new that they actually added after I was done, you can actually go in with credit for solo now as well. So if you go to a small school in solo, then you can actually get a discount on going to ATP as well. So you can enter 0 experience once you solo or after you get your private if you want to go to ATP. All right, let's see. I'm confused. I'm set up for commercial single engine land. When I go for the multi-engine land, is it 2 check rides, 1 for private and then another for commercial, or just straight 1 check ride? No. So once you earn your commercial certificate, then all you do, it's a commercial multi-engine add-on. It's just 1 check ride, and honestly, the bulk of your commercial check ride will already be completed through your single engine commercial. And then once you go into your multi-engine commercial, you'll just talk about some multi-engine stuff and then do a couple maneuvers. It was my probably easiest and shortest check ride that I did. From your POV, is it better to join ATP or United Aviate? That's a tough question, and I think that it kind of depends on what your goal is. I don't know much about the program itself or the academy itself, but I think that joining the program itself, going to a school like ATP and then joining Aviate, nowhere does it say that you need to be exclusive in Aviate, so you can actually join that program on top of other cadet partnerships. So if it works out that you end up staying in the United pipeline that whole time, and then you end up at United without doing another interview. However, if you go to ATP, it opens up a lot of doors for other cadet programs that you can also join. And one of them has ought to work out. Where if you go to the Aviate Academy, you're essentially kind of locked into that pipeline. However, like I said, I don't know much about the academy. I was just in the program, not the actual academy side of it. All right. I checked with these Zero to Hero flight schools if I can use my own airplane like a flying club, and they all said no. So the reason that might be is it could be insurance requirements. Whenever you are flying your own airplane through something like a flight school, that can be kind of a headache for the insurance company determining like who is like at fault in certain things. Kind of long story short. However, like honestly, I wouldn't go through a Zero to Hero school if you want to use your own plane. Find somebody that would want to just fly with you. Like if you're trying to get it done as fast as possible, try to find a CFI that will essentially dedicate all their time to you. And a couple things, you'll probably pay them less than you would pay at a school, but somehow they're probably going to end up making more flying with you because there's not going to be a flight school taking a whole bunch of their commission. All right, I haven't flown in 2 months. How do you think that will affect my skills from a private pilot student? So flying is unlike anything that we do on a regular basis, right? I mean, there's nothing that we do that's similar to flying. It's not like riding a bike. So your skills atrophy pretty fast, even if you take just like a week off, right? You end up forgetting a lot and you end up having to relearn quite a bit. Now, I'm not saying that to try to discourage you because, I mean, everybody takes breaks in their training. I think we try to minimize them as much as possible. But that does happen and it'll feel a little weird getting back into it. You're going to be pretty rusty, but I mean, nothing that you shouldn't be able to kind of get back over and be able to tackle again. So, all right, reading a bunch of these. First, my current target budget is to start at $60,000 for Zero to CFI. Is that realistic? Planning on flying 5 days a week, weather permitting. That's going to be like, there's so many factors that go into cost. It depends on like where you're doing your training at. Like if you were to do your training out in California compared to where I am in Indiana, it's going to cost you way, way more than it would here. Just for everything's more expensive out there than it is here. When I give estimates to people at the school that I currently teach at, $60,000 is kind of like the bare bones range. There's also a lot of ways for you to save money throughout it, like time splitting for your instrument. However, that's going to take a lot more effort. If you want to just get it done as fast as possible, I would say $60,000 is probably going to be a little bit on the low end. I think about 70 to 80,000 is going to be a good number, unless you want to go to some like big, super fast-paced school like ATP. Obviously, that's going to be even a little bit more. I want to ask the benefit of paying to get other ratings like multi-engine and double I if I plan on building flight hours as CFI. Is it worth it, and how much would that add to the cost? Great question. And so I just have my CFI. I don't have my double I and I don't have my MEI. So for the last 2.5 years, I have done, I think, 13 to 1,400 hours of flight instruction with just private pilot students, plus 2 commercial students. But so you will spend, if you just have your CFI, you will spend every single day doing the exact same thing. If I would have gotten I wish that I would have gotten my double I when I very first started, because that would have broadened the horizons of the instruction that I get to do on a daily basis. And that would have made, I think, instructing a little bit more fun. I mean, I enjoyed instructing while I did it. I absolutely do. But I think being able to change it up as opposed to doing steep turns for 4 or 5 flights in a row, absolutely. On top of that, airlines love to see you have your double I. MEI, I don't know if they care as much about the MEI rating itself. Expect except I think they just care about having a lot of multi-engine time. If you have a way of getting multi-time that's not instructing, then I don't think I would worry about getting your MEI. However, if you don't, then I would get it too. Plus, in today's CFI hiring market, the more ratings you have, especially the more instructor ratings you have, the more competitive you're going to be. So, awesome. $185 an hour, aircraft $70, instruction attached to. Okay, so you're the one asking $60,000. So let's pull up a calculator here, and we'll do 185 plus 70, and then for a bare minimum, you're probably going to be, you need 250 hours for your commercial under most circumstances, and then let's say another 20 for your CFI. So we'll just do times 270. So that's going to be 68,000. That's not including, and you're not going to have an instructor for all of those flights, so you can remove some of that money. But that's not going to include things like check ride fees, or which could be, most check rides are pushing almost $1,000 nowadays, or like online ground schools that you're going to need to buy, or a headset, or there's going to be a lot of other costs built into that. So 60,000 is probably going to be on borderline like the impossibly low side. It'd be tight, and if you really manage it and you're really on top of it, then I would say that it's possible, but 60,000 is going to be tough. I got my private pilot's license a month ago. I do intend to go for IFR, but with work and everything, I was burned. What is a reasonable amount of time to just enjoy your private pilot's license? Take as much time as you want, but as little as you need. So try to limit the amount of time that you spend outside of a training environment as much as possible. I've got a lot of specifically CFI guys or commercial guys that have spent a long time building. So they've been flying, but when you step out of the training environment and just out in a flying environment, then it can make things very difficult getting back into it, just because you're not used to somebody kind of like being very strict on you about certain things, being strict on you about like checklists and certain procedures. So take some time, absolutely. I think I took about 6 months, but try to minimize it as much as you can. Try to get back on the horse as fast as you can. Awesome. I love these questions. I don't know why I've never done this sooner. I'm having fun. Any tips for first solo? Your instructor wouldn't have signed you off unless they thought that you were ready. So one thing that I would always do with my students, and every CFI is a little different, but I would give them zero inclination that they were going to solo on the next flight or solo soon. Because what happens is, like, say we have a fantastic flight this day, and I say, hey, you're going to solo next flight. I guarantee, I promise you will have the worst flight of your life. So treat every flight like it's just another training flight. And hey, if it happens, it happens. Your instructor wouldn't have signed you off unless they thought that you were ready. You're going to be absolutely nervous until the instructor hops out of the plane, or maybe until you take off. Then it's just going to feel like normal. I promise you. You're going to be in the flow. You'll have done so many laps in the pattern that you'll know exactly what to do, and you won't even realize that there's not an instructor there with you. I've got 3 different streams going here, so I'm trying to bounce back and answer questions from all of them. What about challenging the aircraft dispatcher certificate? Is there any shortcut to the certificate? Looked at these schools and the cost $5,000 from 0 time to 5 weeks long. I already have airplane, single engine land plus instrument. You shouldn't need to do the aircraft dispatcher certificate unless you want to be an aircraft dispatcher. If you did want to do that for some reason, then that's going to be, I think it's the same certificate as it is for your airline transport pilot written. With maybe a few other questions in there, or maybe it's the vice versa. But if you're just going to be an airline pilot, I wouldn't worry about getting that. But that's just me. My discovery flight is this Sunday. That's awesome. Should I prepare for it? I do not. You don't know, or you do know the basics. Don't prepare for it. Show up, enjoy it, have fun. That's the whole point of the discovery flight. Nobody showing up for a discovery flight knows how to land the plane. Even if you show up with 100 hours of flight time, chances are the instructor you're with probably isn't going to let you do any more, any less. So don't prepare for it. If you want to prepare for it, come in with questions to ask for the CFI. But in terms of actually like flying wise and having any sort of knowledge, I wouldn't worry about it. Just show up ready to have fun and ready to ask some questions. So any tips for grinding it out to 1,500 hours? I'm a third of the way there, give or take, but I'm scared it's starting to drain me and becomes repetitive flying, same airplane, etc. So I'm going to assume that you are probably doing a lot of talking here. I'm going to assume that you're probably a CFI building time, or you're in some sort of other time building role. Take every day one step at a time. It's so easy to look and say, oh, I'm only at 500 hours out of the 1,500. Focus on the next 100 hours. Focus on getting to 600. Then focus on getting to 700. Break it down into smaller chunks. Don't focus on getting to that full 1,500, because that's, until you're getting closer, it's going to just seem like a never-ending looming goal. So one thing that got me through it, I mean, the days are repetitive and there are days where it's going to suck, but I mean, you get to fly airplanes. How cool is that? Just tell yourself, remember why you're doing this in the first place. Remember what got you into flying in the first place, and try to take it one day at a time, every day as it comes. And yeah. Where can we find regional flight student social networks looking for people to split time with? How did you network with other full-time students beyond just those at your FBO? So one thing that I did while I was working on my CFI rating, I was actually a line guy. So line service, the guy fueling the planes, moving the planes. I did that at one of the other airports in the area that I wasn't training at that was huge when it came to jet traffic. And I mean, just doing that, you get to know a bunch of the base tenants, the base clients. You get to know the people that come in and go very often. And that airport also had a flight school. So obviously you're going to meet some other flight students as well. In terms of, I mean, just hang out at your FBO, hang out at your airport. You're bound to meet students eventually. And I think most probably like statewide has a Facebook group. I know Indiana has like an Indiana Pilots Facebook group. Get in there, start trying to be pretty vocal in there. Comment on other people's videos, comment on other people's posts, and make posts of your own, and the network's going to grow over time. But spending time in the airport's the best way to meet pilots. That's just how it is. All right. When it comes to digital flying, where does the weather and airspace restrictions data come from? From A, your cell phone provider, 1090 millihertz audio. Comes to digital flying. Oh, I see what you're asking. So a couple different ways. A lot of modern avionics have a way for you to connect your iPad to like the Bluetooth connection of the avionics panel that you have. And then it would take the ADS-B in data from the avionics and put it on your iPad. Besides that, if you have data from your data or service on your iPad, then that will also, you'll be able to look stuff up just over the internet. Trying to transition from the mindset, let's grind those hours, to how I can be the best instructor mentor for my students. I love that. I've said this over and over and over again. If you're building time does not give you an excuse to be a bad instructor. And I'm sure that everyone watching this can agree, from every single level, from student pilot all the way up to instructor. I mean, it seems the fact that you guys are watching this means that you're probably not just in it to just build hours, but yeah, building hours does not give you an excuse to be a bad CFI. It's definitely a way to gain hours, absolutely. But be a good CFI while you're at it. It honestly takes just as much effort to be a good instructor as it does a bad one. So try to be a good one, care about your students, and want them to succeed and pass. How do you stand out for non-CFI low-time pilot jobs like pipeline patrol and skydive? So this kind of goes for just every single thing that I've kind of seen in aviation. I've talked to quite a few airline recruiters and recruiters for like different 135 companies and everything like that. Have as much unique experience as you can. So pipeline flying, it's going to be a lot of like low flying and probably high performance airplanes. So get some high performance time. But kind of just like general job search advice is recruiters love to see things that aren't directly aviation related on your resume. Every airline recruiter I've talked to, they've said that one of the biggest things that they see is volunteer time and doing things that make you a good candidate outside of just flying. There's a lot of CFIs in today's day and age, and I've seen quite a few of them where the one and only thing on their resume is, or there's a lot of like airline applicants where the one and only thing on their resume is CFI. Okay, cool. We've got a bajillion other CFIs waiting to get their spot. So what makes you stand out? And just volunteer work, having other job experience. In the case of like low-time pilot jobs, pipeline patrol, skydive, those are typically going to be in high-performance airplanes. So try to get your high-performance endorsement if you don't already have it, and just get some good flight time, get some IFR time, and get some unique time that would set you apart from just someone fresh out of school with just their bare basic ratings. Hey Hayden, I'm 23 years old, living in Alberta, Canada. I'm planning on saving money for flight school and grinding for the next 2 to 3 years. What advice would you have for someone in my position? Okay, so full transparency, I don't know how it works in Canada. I don't know the certification process. However, if you were in the US, what I would tell you to do is during this time, get the ground schools, get at least your private pilot ground school. Start working towards that. You can take your written tests before you ever step foot in an airplane. If you want to make this a couple-year process, you could knock out as many written tests as you could. In the U.S., at least, like I said, I don't know what it is in Canada. Unfortunately, the written tests are valid for 2 years. So start working on that now, and that's going to take some of the workload off later on. All right. Also, I have a bachelor's in aviation-related discipline. Do you think getting a master's part-time while building towards 1,500 hours would help me be more competitive for airline hiring? I think just having a degree is going to make you competitive in the first place, even though airlines aren't requiring degrees at this point. I think even just having it's going to make you a lot more competitive. So I think that, and this is, I don't have a degree, so I can't speak on this too much. I wish that I could. However, I think maybe take the money that you would spend on getting blinded here. Hold on. I would say take the money that you're going to spend on a master's degree and maybe try to take it and getting some different ratings and kind of unique flight hours. The big thing is going to be multi-engine hours and some instrument time. So if you can find a way to get some turbine time, some jet time, that's going to go a long ways. Awesome. Will it look odd that my degree is in biology and public health and I do clinical research for HIV? No. I mean, back when airlines required a degree, they genuinely did not care what your degree is in. They just wanted you to have a degree. I think it more just showed that you could dedicate 4 or 5 years of your life to earning something. Having a degree now definitely helps you stand out. And if nothing else, it's a fantastic backup plan if need be. But besides that, no, I don't think airlines care what the degree is in, unless it was in, like, they'll put a bigger emphasis on, obviously, aviation degrees. But besides that, I don't think so. Hello, brother. I'm from India. I went to do my flight training from Canada. Can you give me some good insight? Like I kind of just said, I know nothing about the Canadian pathways and how that training program works. I wish that I could help you more, but I do not. Does volunteer firefighting count plus beach patrol? Absolutely. Any volunteer work that you can find based off the conversations I've had with airline recruiters, goes a very long way. So if you can get volunteer work, I think volunteer firefighting is incredible. I'd imagine that would help you out. That would help you out a ton. All right. I caught back up. I've been rattling them off. All right, I'm going to scroll through some YouTube comments. Another question. I don't really have any intention of giving instruction in multi-engine, but I was wondering if I should get my MEI anyways just for the extra rating, or just build up to 25 hours and commercial multi-engine land. So kind of the overarching thing, back in May, I went to one of the FAPA events, which stands for Future and Active Pilots Association, I think is what it stands for. Anyways, it's a huge hiring event. Everyone there that I talked to, they kind of all said, like all the airlines there, they want you to have as much multi-engine time as possible. If you can only get your multi-engine time based off getting your MEI, then get your MEI. I think kind of in today's market, you really need about 75 hours to be competitive. I do think that over the next year or so, that'll probably drop down a little bit to kind of the more normal that we've seen later. But if you're going to get your MEI, instruct in it and grind out as many multi-hours as not. If you don't really have any intention on instructing in the MEI, I would say take that money and try to find a way to get as many multi-hours as you possibly can. And don't worry about necessarily adding the certificate, just get the multi-hours, if that makes sense. Awesome. All right. This is fun. Hello, would you recommend buying a cheap plane or spending money for IFR or MEI? Currently working on my private great job, which I can somewhat pay as I go. However, I'm a contractor / credit shot. So you're going to get drastically different answers when you ask people about this. If your goal is to obviously go all the way and do all of your training, then buying a plane at the very beginning and using it for all of your training is not a bad idea. There's going to be two caveats to this. The first one is going to be, you have to remember that 80% of people drop out before they earn their private pilot certificate. 80%. So if people want to buy their airplane, I say go get your private at somewhere else that you can rent a plane. That way, if you realize that it's not for you or you don't love it, then you aren't sitting on this huge asset, right? Another thing that you have to worry about is maintenance is outrageously expensive. I recently saw a plane going for just a normal 100-hour inspection, and just the 100-hour inspection on that aircraft is going to cost about $35,000. So, and that's from a 2021 airplane. So maintenance itself, you might be able to afford the airplane, but are you going to be able to afford the consistent upkeep of that airplane as well, not just the plane itself? One other thing on top of that, when you earn all of your certificates, it's going to be super tempting to just fly your own plane around and build up hours. Airlines really want to see you do some sort of professional flying. I think they prefer CFI the best, but if you can't be a CFI, then some sort of other professional flying. I think they kind of look down upon just people that build time in their own airplanes. So, hey Hayden, love your videos and advice. Currently 26 in biotech, looking at a career change, saving money for PPL now. What's your take on loans post private with current hiring? I think that in today's day and age, it's going to be very, very difficult to get all the way through it without taking loans. I mean, you kind of have two options, right? On one hand, you take loans and you get it done faster. On the other hand, you don't take loans, but it takes much longer. You have to kind of treat this career like it's an investment, right? It's going to be very expensive. It's absolutely going to be very expensive. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call here. There we go. But let's say towards the end of your career at a major airline, you could be making, in today's market, people at the end of their career making about $350,000 a year at a major. If it gets you to the airlines, let's say you have to finance $100,000. That's probably a bit on the higher side, but we'll say we have to finance $100,000. but that means that you get to a major airline 1 year earlier, which lets you work 1 year longer, which means that you just boosted your entire possible earning potential by 350,000. And that's it with today's numbers. Who knows what it's going to look like by the time that all of us reach that point. So know what you're getting yourself into. Also understand, like, if you lose your medical, which is entirely possible, people lose their medical, then the things that you have financed kind of go away. So know what you're getting yourself into, and I'm not against financing it at all. So cool. How do you feel about 5 to 7 day accelerated IFR and commercial programs? I'm considering attending to complete my ratings. Commercial, I could see you getting done in 5 to 7 days if you have all of your time built already. Their instrument is such an important and in-depth rating that if you don't understand what you're doing, you will get yourself killed. I don't know how you could do it in that pace. At ATP, I think my instrument took me about 6 weeks, and even that felt extremely accelerated, and I don't think I came out of that as proficient as I should be in those areas. I couldn't imagine doing it in that fast of a timeline. Overall, I'm typically supportive of accelerated programs, but something crazy fast like that for such an important rating, I don't know if I can say that that's a good idea. But that's just my opinion. If you have a CFI double I, that flight instructor do remote work using Redbird Flight Simulator, instructing remotely. Oh, are you saying can you log those hours if you have an instructor sitting there? Or like doing it virtually? I'm going to say probably not. I was actually just reading the reg of this the other day. I don't remember exactly what it said off the top of my head, but I think it said that like you have to have a CFI sitting there with you so they can essentially vouch for what instruction that you're doing. The FAA is weird about doing things virtually. They're getting a little bit more accepting of it, but I would say the answer to that one's probably not. Just if you do it that way, be ready to kind of justify yourself. It'd probably come down to who you have to justify it to as well, based off how they would interpret it. So you mentioned that to be competitive today, airlines look for 75-ish multi-hours, but they're very expensive to just time build. How do you build so many multi-engine hours early in your career? I got extremely lucky in the sense, obviously the most obvious one is to get your multi-engine instructor rating and find a school that has a multi. The schools that have multi-engine seem to be kind of dwindling down. So if you can get on with a school that has a multi, that plane will fly in an exuberant amount from people trying to either rent it so they can build up the rest of their 25 hours, or just people that want to do it, get their commercials, because there's not many of them out there. So get your MEI. I got very lucky in back when I was working line service. I actually got very close with one of the base tenants who flew a Citation jet. It's a single pilot jet. But he was an MEI, so I was able to tag along with him and fly right seat with him. And every hour that I flew with him, since he was a multi-engine instructor, he could put that in my logbook so that I can count that towards my multi-engine time. If you are able to find something like that, that's going to be like top tier, best way that you can do it. Or obviously better than that would be try to find some sort of like 91 gig or 135 gig where you could build multi-hours, but those are hard to come by. So MEI would be solid. If you don't have your MEI, then try to find someone that'll just let you sit right seat with them. You'd be surprised on how many options or how many opportunities there are to just sit in the right seat, not touch anything, and get to put it in your logbook. So what do most people make when working as a CFI? I have my discovery flight on the 11th. I'm so excited. First off, congrats on your discovery flight. That is super exciting. You will never forget it. I still have the picture of my discovery flights floating around somewhere, and I think it's on my Instagram if you want to go check it out. Little plug here. It's on my Instagram. I kind of forgot what your question was. How much do most people work making as a CFI? That answer is going to depend a lot. That's going to differ drastically on a couple of different things. So like what kind of school you're at, how the school pays their instructors. So at a lot of schools, you typically only get paid as an instructor when you are billing a student. So either doing flight or doing ground lessons with a student. Those are the only times that you get paid. Around here, I think instructors typically make about $25 to $30 an hour doing that. But $25 to $30 an hour sounds fantastic. But if you're only flying 50 hours a month, that's only $1,500 if my math is right, and that's before you take out taxes. 100 hours in a month would be $2,500, $3,000. However, in my 2 years of instructing and flying as much as I could, I only hit 100 hours once. It's doable, but very tough. There are some schools where they will pay you like a low base rate, just like you clock in when you get there and you clock out like a normal job, and then maybe you earn some sort of commission on that. I would say that probably around here, most instructors end up making about $30,000 to $40,000 a year. I think I don't know the kind of national average off the top of my head, but that would be it's nothing incredible. That's for sure. It's not a ton of money, but I think throughout my last year as a CFI, I'll probably bring in about just over 30,000 will be how much I'll bring home. Now that you're starting soon as an airline pilot, do you plan on continuing to make CFI content for YouTube, or are you planning to pivot more towards airline content or something along those lines? That is the question, and I don't have an answer to that one. I feel like I'm in kind of a unique niche here where I don't feel like there's a lot of people making the kind of content that I am. So I think that it would be a wasted opportunity to pivot from that and kind of just throw this down the drain, especially since every single person that's subscribed to this channel kind of subscribed to watch that content. It's probably going to be a mix of both, at least for the first while, where I'm still very familiar with the CFI training. Over time, while I'm at airlines, I'm sure that I'm going to become very disconnected with the current pilot training cycle and time frame in industry, and that's probably when I'll make the full pivot. But for the time being, I absolutely do still plan on making CFI content. With the industry's cyclical hiring trends and binding pathways or cadet programs still a smart choice for the next 2 to 4 years, or could they slow progress towards a major airline? Oh, hey, Blake. I think if that's Blake that I know. Hey, what's up, Blake? So I do think that regionals are going to pick up hiring over the next year. Most majors have kind of released some numbers about how many pilots they want to hire the next year, and it's pretty optimistic. And if majors are hiring, then that means they're hiring from the regionals, so there's going to be spots. However, in today's day and age, what I would give to everyone is do whatever it takes for you to find a job. That's if it means signing a contract, then absolutely sign the contract. There's so many different variables in it, and who knows if hiring is going to be strong, who knows if it's going to kind of bleed off and slow back down to what we've seen over the last year. If it comes down to you have this big contract and you get an offer from a major airline and you don't want to break that contract, here's what I tell people, right? Kind of the example that I was talking about earlier. At the end of your career, you're going to be making, in today's day and age, $300,000, $350,000 a year, something in like that at the majors. If you need to pay back an $80,000 training contract, just know that if it gets you to a major 1 year sooner, then at the end of the year, $360,000 minus 80, you're still making that $280,000. That's kind of just the way I look at it. I don't know if that's the best way to look at it or not, but in the grand scheme of how much money that you could make over this career, a $70,000, $80,000 training contract is marginal or negligible in my opinion. Right now it sounds like a lot of money, and it's not a lot of money. But if it opens the doors for something sooner, then I think it's definitely something to consider, especially if that's the only offer that you have at the moment. Not so much a question, but kind of going off the last one regarding loans. That's definitely the scariest part, the gap between loan payoff starting and actually getting in at an airline to make the money. It is in a lot of like kind of aviation specific loans. They'll defer it for a while. I think ATP, and don't quote me on this because it's changed since I was there, but I think Sally Mae, who is partnered with ATP, they'll say, hey, you don't have to start paying us back until you get your CFI certificate, or maybe even a year or two after that. Don't quote me on that. You'd have to check it out yourself. One thing to be cautious of is obviously you're still building interest on that loan, so that's going to be even more expensive. But at least you're not worried about making these huge payments while you're not making much as a CFI. Where you make CFI money but maybe have a large loan you need to make payments on. Do outside instructing. Personally, throughout the entire 2 years that I've been a CFI, I've been an Uber driver, and I end up Ubering just as much as I do instructing, and I actually make quite a bit more driving for Uber than I do instructing. So get creative, find other ways to make money, and it's going to suck for a while. It's really going to suck. Try to keep your costs low, and if you need to find a part-time job, which a lot of CFIs do, just know that you're not alone, and if you need some good Uber tips, I got you, because I've done that for quite a while. So awesome. What are you going to do to prepare for INDOC? Some say don't do anything until you get there. Are you reading up manuals and POHs? Great question. And like you said, there's been a lot of kind of mixed answers on this. I had a buddy of mine. He sent me a Kahoot with some information about the type of plane that I'll be flying. I started to look into it and then quickly realized, like, hey, maybe I should focus on other stuff. Kind of the overall consensus is that I've got is an airline will tell you what you need to know when you need to know it. So I'm not going to do much preparing ahead of time. I think that the airline that I'm currently going to said that a week or two ahead of time, they'll send me a packet of stuff that I can read over, and I will study my butt off on that and know that like the back of my hand. But I'm not going to go out of my way and try to find other resources online, because you have no idea if they're going to be accurate, and it might not follow the company SOPs. So you might learn something wrong, and once you learn something wrong, it's very difficult to correct that and learn it the right way. Do you recommend digital or paper logbooks? I had a paper logbook up until I started instructing, and then doing 5, 6, 7 flights a day got to be a complete pain in the paper logbook. From there, I then switched to digital. Now I just have an entire digital logbook, and when I go to airline training, I'll print it out and get it bound up like a book that I can hand to them so they can review. But I would say do digital, and switch if you've already started flying. Switch to digital as early as possible. Most of the other CFIs that I work with, they have both. I do not. I just have a digital one because I back it up and save it kind of on my computer every now and then. So. And on an external hard drive that I've got. So I don't see myself losing it, but I recommend digital's way easier than paper, especially in today's day and age where everything is digital. Hi, I'm a student pilot, and I just wanted to say how much I've appreciated your content. You've been very encouraging during my journey. Oh, well, thank you. I hope that everything's going well, and I'm glad that you like the videos. How does a student find housing with other flight students when the flight school does not get involved? How to network that part? That's a great question, and one that I didn't have to deal with, so give you my best guess. But there's Facebook groups for almost everything. See if your school has a Facebook group that you can join and just ask in there, hey, anyone want to get a roommate? A lot of flight schools also have like bulletin boards and FBOs and bulletin boards that you can kind of pick some or poke something on there. Just print out something like on a sticky note and say, hey, I'm looking for a roommate while I do flight school. Contact me if you're interested. Put it up there and see if you get any bites. Beyond that, just hanging out at the school, meeting as many people as you can. Sounds good. Any experience with an FMS? I know that's one of the biggest learning curves. Very little. When I went and did my ATP CTP course, what was that? Probably about a month ago. I guess a little over a month ago. I did use the FMS there. I've also kind of messed with it just a little bit in jets, but I think on day one of INDOC, from what I saw, I'll get a company-issued iPad with a FMS built into it, and I'll start playing with it then. Oh, I'm caught back up again. Whew. If you ask a question and I don't see it, I'm sorry. For those of you that are just tuning in, I've got 3 streams going. I've got a horizontal one on YouTube, a vertical one on YouTube, and I'm going live on TikTok on my phone. So I'm trying to bounce back and forth, making sure that I'm trying to answer questions from everywhere. I'm also going through the my YouTube comments and kind of trying to find one here. So here's a question that I got asked on my most recent video. Could you make a video of every step you did on your career from 0 hours to current hours, please? I'm currently stuck on 40 hours. All these videos and comments making me stress out so much. So super brief, I'll give you guys the rundown of what I did. For those of you who have watched this channel, you probably know this, so it's going to be a repetitive story. But I did my private pilot certificate at just the local mom and pop Part 61 school. It's actually a very busy Part 61 school, but still just a kind of a small school. From there, after I completed my private, I went and did my instrument and my commercial single engine at ATP flight school. I did part of that down in Florida. Then I realized that I couldn't afford to live to Florida, so then I moved back to Indianapolis. I then decided that I was too much of a wuss to do ATP CFI school because it is so incredibly fast, or at least it was back when I was doing my training there. So I decided to leave ATP, and then I actually did my CFI rating at the school that I did my private at. So did that, took a while. From there, I got an offer to instruct at that school, and that's where I've been ever since. I started out as a CFI for about a year, and then I got promoted to the assistant chief flight instructor, and that's where I'm at now. Do you have to have any mechanical? I'm going to imagine mechanical skills. No, not really. I mean, you do end up learning quite a bit about engines and stuff, especially early on in your training, but nobody that really comes in has much mechanical issues, and the airplane systems are probably drastically different from anything else that you're going to learn anyways. So it's all going to be taught along the way. I'm about to take my commercial single engine land ride, and I'm thinking about doing CFI training soon afterwards. I've heard the CFI oral is really tough and very long. Any advice on how to make sure that you are ready for the CFI ride? Great question. So my CFI ride, I think my oral was about 4 and 5 hours, and then we had about a 2-hour flight after that. All in all, I think it was a full 8-hour day between doing paperwork and doing paperwork and doing the oral and everything like that. So the biggest thing, we do CFI training at my school, and the biggest thing that I see students bust on is they know the material. Absolutely. They know what they're talking about, but they're unable to teach the material. And that's really what the CFI oral and check ride is about, is your ability to teach other people. So sorry I'm late. What craftsmen were involved with? I'm a flight instructor. So, I think that's what your question was. Practice teaching as much as you can. If you can find like a student pilot that would want to do grounds with you and practice teaching them, the only way to get better at teaching is to teach, right? If you can't find someone that's willing to listen, find a dog, find a cat, find a mirror. What I actually did, and this is going to sound super goofy, is obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen my VR headsets up here. What I did was I would join like a Facebook Meta Horizons world or whatever, and I would put like a fake avatar in there, and I would practice teaching to them. So know how to teach. Obviously, you need to know the material, but your DP is not going to really worry about how much you know the material, more that you have an ability to teach it. And you're going to suck at the beginning. Teaching is very tough, especially teaching something like this where you just went from student and now all of a sudden you're starting to teach it. But that's the big thing is knowing how to teach. Any thoughts about setting up a Discord or like I've messed with it a little bit. I've thought about it. The course hosting software that I have my courses on has a built-in community tab that I've toyed around with a little bit. That's definitely something that I would be interested in. Honestly, I wanted to wait until I had a few more subscribers because I didn't want to be like, hey guys, I've got a Discord, and then one person joins it. So I think finally now we're starting to get to a point where I think people would be interested in joining it. So for sure, if that's something that we want, then I think that's something that we could set up. Is Lyft Academy good for pilot training? You hear very mixed reviews about Lyft. I think part of that is because I'm at a school that is very close to Lyft, so we get a lot of people that were either dropped out of Lyft or were kicked out of Lyft. The people that have gone through their entire program, you get a guaranteed job at a regional. So in a time where hiring has slowed down pretty drastically, then it's a good gig because you're guaranteed an airline job at the end of it. I do think that the timeline is a little bit longer. I think it takes about 2 years compared to ATP takes about a year. So if your goal is to get there fast and you want an accelerated program like that, ATP might be a better choice. But Lyft, they fly Diamonds, which are pretty cool planes. They've got a huge ecosystem. So if you want that 141 program, which is like a very structured schedule, then it'll be a good program. Just go in, understand that you're going to have to treat it like a full-time job, because it will be. Anytime you go to a structured school like that, it's going to be a very involved, very intense program. So be on your game, be focused, and treat it like a full-time job. You can take the Sport CFI at 150-hour total time using a private. You can. I actually don't know of anyone that has done it. However, with Mosaic being a thing now, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Sport Pilot, it's for people that can't get a medical mainly. However, now they've broadened the horizons about kind of what planes that you can fly. So I think that sport CFIs are going to become a lot bigger of a thing now with Mosaic. I would be interested to see if a flight school would hire somebody just with a sport CFI. I know that a lot of the flight schools that I've kind of talked to, I don't think they would. They want someone with their CFI, their II, and their MEI. So even if you got it at 150 hours, the opportunities might be a little low unless somebody owned an airplane. But especially with that kind of the new rules involving it, I think sport pilots' ratings are going to jump through the roof quite a bit. So, hey, Hayden, just got my CFI and working on II. I feel a little lost as to where to apply for jobs. Are there job sites you would recommend? I think so. AOPA has a flight school locator, like a flight school map. I would go on there and I would just find every single one in your surrounding area, click on it, call them. Even better if it's within driving distance, put on a suit and tie, walk in and hand them your resume. In today's day and age, you need to do everything possible in your power to try to get that job. So if you can, go in, hand them your resume. On top of that, there's websites like Climb 2350, but I think that would be primarily for kind of like jet jobs and stuff like that. Indeed, I know a lot of companies will list that on Indeed, but in today's market, it's really just, okay, here's 10 flight schools I want to go to today. Here's 10 copies of my resume. I'm going to go hit all of them and try to talk to the person that make those hiring decisions. Try to make a really good first impression, hand in your resume, and yeah, hopefully, I wish you the best of luck. It's going to be tough. I know the flight school that I'm at currently with today's market, they wouldn't hire somebody unless they had their II and their MEI. But definitely getting your II is going to make you a lot more competitive than just people that just have their single eye. Also, everyone, I'm sorry if I keep looking over here. This is where my computer is with the chat on it. So thoughts on students using an iPad during their check ride? Have it coming up in 2 weeks. This is really going to be dependent on which examiner you are using. However, I got my private pilot certificate in 2021, I think it was. Compared to then, examiners are way more likely to say, oh yeah, absolutely, use your iPad now than they were back in the day. So maybe shoot your examiner a text, say, hey, would you like a digital nav log or a paper nav log? But There's nothing within the airman certification standards that says anything like that prohibits you from using an iPad. And I think most examiners want to see that you're able to use these tools well, not being over reliant on them, but knowing how to use them. So I would say that you're probably going to end up using it, and I would encourage you to get good at using it, but maybe shoot the examiner a text and ask them how they feel about it. Oh, I have to solve a CAPTCHA on my TikTok stream. Make sure I'm not a bot. There we go. Do-do-do-do-do. What helped you get through the days when you felt like not getting in the cockpit? How did you manage fatigue? And did you experience any learning plateaus on your flight training journey? That's a fantastic question. Oh, geez. Where do I even start? The first part is, how do you get in when you're fatigued? It's important to, when you first start instructing, let me start with this. When you first start instructing, you are going to be so unbelievably tempted to, I'm going to be at the airport for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'm just going to go, 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 go. That's how I was at the beginning, and I got burned out very, very quick. With doing this being such a repetitive task, you need to have some sort of work-life balance. You're obviously not going to be making a bunch of money as a CFI, so going out and like having vacations all the time is probably out of the equation. However, like saying, okay, I'll be at the airport from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. 5 days a week, and I absolutely will not go and fly outside of those time limits. Having those set boundaries where you have your you time to go do other things besides fly makes a world of difference. Did I have any learning plateaus? Oh, absolutely. And it's going to sound silly, but the biggest one that I can think of off the top of my head was when I started CFI training. You go from the left seat to the right seat. I could not, for the life of me, do steep turns, which for those of you who don't know, steep turns are a private pilot maneuver. And I could not for the life of them do or get them on from the right seat. It was just completely different. And that took forever for me to be able to get through that and get to it. So absolutely, everyone will feel learning plateaus. It's totally normal. It just takes one person saying the right thing at the right time, and all of a sudden, like it just clicks. So hopefully that answered your question. What are your favorite online ground schools? I really enjoyed Gold Seal Ground School, and I'm now using King Schools for FOI and FIA training. I've also heard good things about Pilot Institute. The only ones that I have used are, I used King Schools for my private, and I think I used King Schools for my instrument. Lately, I've been telling all of my students to use Sporties, because the school I'm with, that's the one that they offer. So Sporties, I really like. King Schools is overall a good program. It'll teach you everything you need to know. However, it seems like their videos aren't getting updated at the pace that I would like, and they feel old. John and Martha are full of incredible knowledge, and they've been teaching for a heck of a lot longer than I've even been alive. So King Schools is kind of the tried and true. I think Sporties does a better job of kind of updating their videos and making it feel a little bit more modern. Gold Seal, I've only used, they had like a everything you need to know for your private pilot check ride on there that I have sent to a couple of my students, but that's the only thing I know about Gold Seal, and I've never used Pilot Institute. For my CFI training, I used I think it was Fly 8 Mike Alpha's course. Hello, is there any judgment for where you get your commercial license? So there's a couple different options. You've got Part 61 schools, which are going to be local mom and pop flight schools. You show up, you go fly, you go home. You get to pick the schedule. There's going to be Part 141 programs, which are going to be a lot more structured. They're going to be a lot more like a college course almost. And third option that's going to take a lot longer, but a lot of people get mad at me when I don't mention, is you can also go through the military and get all of your ratings that way. So if you want to find a school around you, I think AOPA, Aircraft Owner and Pilots Association, has a map on there where you can find flight schools in your area. So I would consider checking them out. All right. I'm going to take a sec, get a drink of Coke. Where's everyone at in their training? It seems like we're actually getting quite a bit from all over the place, which is actually super surprising. I didn't expect to have this many. A lot of guys in their CFI training, which is really neat. So I'm loving to see that. How do you think about chair flying / slim? Does it improve your muscle memory? If you have a full simulator setup, then it can be really good in terms of learning the procedures, learning the checklists, the flows and everything, and kind of working through that. Obviously you can't get the sensations that you do of flying the airplane in a simulator. If you're just going to sit on Microsoft Flight Sim with an Xbox controller, it's a lot of fun, and I do it nowadays, but it's probably not going to help you learn to fly much. Gold Seal for me was just okay, although they're very dated videos. I found King School's better. They really break down every concept. Awesome. What is the hardest subject in becoming a pilot? Ooh, that's going to change a lot depending on which people you ask for. I think just overall, people drastically underestimate how much studying really goes into it. For about every hour you spend in the plane, you're going to end up spending 2 to 3 hours on the ground studying. So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily one topic. Maybe weather really throws people off. But besides that, it's really just the amount of studying and knowledge that you have to learn. I wouldn't say that there's necessarily one hardest subject. In Discovery until get cleared for Class 1. Awesome, man. Well, you're getting close, I hope. Cool. This is fun. So I've never done any sort of live stream like this. I actually asked on my YouTube polls. I did a poll not too long ago where I said, would you guys rather me do a live stream or just a normal video? And I think the answers were overwhelming. Just post a normal video answering questions. But this entire video is actually going to be posted as a video this video is going to be posted as a video on my channel once we're done with the stream. So you guys get both. You get a live stream where you get to come and ask me live questions, and you also get a normal video out of it. So how would you rank your check rides from hardest to easiest? I would say private was probably the easiest, simply because I was so well prepared. I would say that I was probably over prepared for my private pilot's license. How many G's have you pulled? I'll come back to your question in a sec. How many G's have you pulled? I think I've gotten up to like 1.3, 1.4, nothing crazy. Not in the planes that I fly. So private was probably the easiest. Instrument, I don't remember being very difficult. Commercial, definitely just kind of like a private pilot check ride, just on steroids. A lot more in-depth knowledge than people are used to. So commercial, I got stumped, and then CFI was very, very tough. It was very long. I was there doing the check ride for over 8 hours from when I walked into the door to when we wrapped up for the day. So it was a long day. Now that you have a class date for the airlines, looking back, would you have stayed the same route teaching at a school versus being an independent CFI? Yes, I think I would. It's so easy to teach at a school, in most schools, if you find a busy school, because the students come to you. Also, as an independent CFI, you have to worry about a lot of things like certain insurance requirements, and like, okay, if I go fly with John over here, who owns his own airplane, who is liable from a monetary perspective if something were to go wrong. You can get CFI insurance, but I haven't looked into it too much, but I think that working for a school and being a W-2 employee at a school kind of takes a lot of the stress out for it. Now, I also was getting 100 and some hours a month, which is going to be very, very difficult to do as an independent CFI, unless you just happen to be at a huge, super busy flight training airport, and there's a bunch of people that own airplanes. But for me, working at a school just made it easy. I would show up, I would fly with the students on my schedule that came to the school, and I would go home. I didn't really have to think much about it besides that. Did you only do instructing or anything else like survey? No, I only did instructing. I've done some contract flying, like some ferry flights, moving an airplane from one airport to another, and taking some taking people in their planes kind of around, but the vast majority of my time building was just instructing. DPE is money for the check rides. Yeah. We just had a person take a check ride the other day, and their private pilot check ride was $850. I think mine was like $400 maybe back in the day. I'm a recovering alcoholic. Is it possible for me to fly? If you have anything on your criminal record, like DUIs or anything, it's going to make it very, very difficult. It's going to make it very difficult to get a medical. And even if you get a medical, you're going to have to tell airlines in the future that you have a DUI or other things like that on your record. And it's definitely not impossible. There are absolutely people that do it, especially if it was something that it was well in your past and it's something that you can talk about, and you could maybe even spin it into it was something that you overcame and worked on. Then if there's no record of it, then I would say then yeah, absolutely, you would just be the same as anybody else. All right. It's actually funny, we have the same amount of viewers on all 3 live streams at the moment. How many of you guys are you more like in high school, fresh out of high school, like this is going to be your first career and this is what you want to do? Or more of you like, okay, you've had another career, you've had other jobs before, and you're kind of making a career switch into doing this? It seems like at the school that I teach at, it seems to be a lot of like high schoolers or people fresh out of high school that they're kind of just starting out. This is their first attempt at a career. So I'm curious where all of you guys are at, because it seems like we have a lot of career changers in here, which is really, really neat. Okay. So I take it that this is Troy on TikTok, I take it that this is probably a career change for you. I was prescribed an antidepressant when I was younger. Is that going to be an issue? It's definitely going to be brought up. Over the last year or two, the FAA has gotten a lot better at talking about and being able to issue certificates with certain antidepressants on your record. From my understanding, what I have seen is you'll need to go in there or call them, and they're going to say, look, we want to see that you've been off of it for X amount of time. And if they want to go even further, they will say, we need a doctor to admit that. I see this a lot with ADHD. They'll say, look, you need to be off your meds for 5 years, and then we're going to need a note from a doctor saying that you were essentially misdiagnosed, saying that you don't have that anymore. I would imagine that antidepressants probably going to be the same thing, but prove that you can be off the meds. Do you have any favorite memories or moments from flight training and flight instruction? I mean, obviously passing check rides. I think I counted up the other day, I've soloed about 35, 40 people for their first solo. And that's an incredible feeling to take someone from never touching the controls of an airplane and letting them go and fly an airplane on themselves, and the huge smile that they get when they come back or after they pass their check ride. It's just incredible. I think one of my favorite memories is just like the people that I've taken from zero and got them through their check ride, and the fact that even nowadays I still am in contact with every single student that I've sent to a check ride, and I'll text them and check up on them. And while they're in training, I'm a very strict instructor, and I would say that I was probably not the nicest person to them, but now that the time has gone by and they've gotten their check rides, I mean, we're friends and we all talk, and I just think that that's fantastic. It truly is one of the most rewarding things that I have ever done by a mile. One of the most stressful, that's for sure, but one of the most rewarding. What do you know about the Fast Track FAA medical to get cleared from ADHD diagnosis? So Fast Track FAA medical, that seems like you're talking about something specific. If you are, I don't know anything about that. However, I've had students that have been diagnosed with ADHD in the past. kind of just talked about it, but really quick again, from my understanding is they'll want to see that you've been off your meds for X amount of years, and then they'll probably ask for you to get a physician to say like, okay, sign off on it and say you don't have ADHD. Or they might ask you to do, they have a couple psych tests that they might ask you to do. Call an AME, call an aviation medical examiner. Don't tell them your name. Don't tell them anything. Say, hey, this is what I've got going on. I've got ADHD. What are you going to need to see from me when I come in for a medical? Having that documentation, having that paperwork ready ahead of time before you go into your medical is going to save you a lot of headache. If you go in and you get denied your medical, it's going to be a quite the headache. All right, second career, just for fun. Second career, man, that's awesome. That's so cool that aviation is kind of grabbing out to people and switching careers to it. I think that even if you're a little later in life, a little older, having that previous experience, be able to come in and you'll have a really solid resume of not just flying stuff. It's going to help you out a ton. So that's awesome. Have you had many students go through any type of deferred medical process? I take migraine medication on the, condition AME can issue. Definitely hoping for no issues when I do a consult. I have had one student go through it, two, but one successfully go through it. Essentially what needed to happen was they had some sort of condition that would have required a special issuance. That's going to be a lot more of like the physical issues. Essentially what's going to happen is an aviation safety inspector is going to want to go fly with you, and they're going to have you do a series of tasks that can prove that you can operate safely with that condition. It's a very lengthy and kind of expensive process. I think kind of the wait list to just get the safety flight done is about a year, and then on top of that, it probably takes about another year to get issued the certificate. Definitely possible, but in your case, I would pick up the phone. I would call an aviation medical examiner and say, hey, I take migraine medication. Is this going to be an issue? They'll tell you what you need to bring into the medical. Just graduated high school and I'm working full-time while working towards a professional pilot degree, making $15 an hour. I think it might take me 5 years to save up. Yeah, I know the feeling, man. You mentioned you did Uber as a side hustle as a CFI. I know that airline pilots often do something on the side given the significant time off and weird scheduling. Do you have any plans for that? This is it, man. I think that once I have a more set in stone schedule, then I'll be able to put a lot more time and effort into making these YouTube videos and growing this community. YouTube has been my passion since, I don't know, I think I started my first YouTube channel when I was in like 5th grade. And then like fresh out of high school, I daily vlogged for like a year. So when I actually have a time and a schedule that will allow me to, then I will absolutely, this is it. This is what I want to put more time and effort into. Is it true roller coasters went away, but resemble small airplanes? No, if you do well on, when I make that comparison, it's typically to people that say that they get motion sick. If you get motion sick on a roller coaster, you'll probably get motion sick in a small plane. But most small planes, the most amount of G's you're going to pull is like 1.2 G's or whatever. However, like on a roller coaster, I think a lot of roller coasters pull like 4 G's. It's going to be a drastically different feeling. But when I say, if you do good on roller coasters, you'll be just fine in a small plane. However, if you can't go on a roller coaster without puking, I wouldn't recommend flying a small plane. Second career for you, 3 to 4 years of biotech experience post-college, but not enjoying it. I gotcha. First career for me, I'm in the process of figuring out and saving for flight training. Awesome. Yeah, but once, did I ever fail a check ride? Yes, I failed 2 check rides. I failed my commercial single engine the first time around, and then I failed my CFI check ride the first time around. Learned a lot from both of those experiences and have been able to take that. And I think having those failures has made me a much better CFI and much better pilot in general. So, yep, I failed 2 check rides, but I learned so much from busting those 2 check rides. How likely is it to get hired from international airlines as a U.S. pilot? That one I can't answer. I don't know. I've only ever done U.S. stuff, so you inspired me, and I envy you. Look, man, I want you to be in the sky. That's about it. But yeah, I can't talk about much stuff outside of the U.S. I wish that I could, but frankly, I don't know enough about it. Do you think cadet programs care if aviation would be a second career? I know Delta has a CFI route. Sorry if you already talked about this. Don't apologize at all. No, I don't think so. I think, and I've kind of talked about this, I think airlines actually kind of like career changers because you have things on your resume that aren't just flying, Coke or Pepsi. Especially if you held any sort of like leadership position or anything that can show your skills outside of flying, I think it's going to help you tremendously. A lot of regionals end up hiring kind of people like fresh out of college, 23, 24-year-olds like myself. So I think when they can spice it up and they can have someone with some real life experience, then that's definitely a plus. How do you explain those failures at an interview? Almost exactly like I did just here. I learned a lot from them. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to try to blame anyone but myself. I wish that I would have taken my time a little bit more. I felt very rushed getting into my commercial check ride, and I wasn't ready for it. But at ATP, I really didn't have a choice but to go take the check ride. I wish that I would have kind of stood a little bit firmer and told myself that, look, we're not doing it now. We're going to hold off a little bit longer. And if they wanted to help me with that, then I would stick with the school. And if not, then I would have finished up on my own. But the CFI ride, I shouldn't have flown that day. The oral was 5 or 6 hours long. I was exhausted. And I got in the plane and I flew the worst flight that I have ever done. I should not have flown that day. I should have discontinued the check ride and came back to it on a later day when I was feeling a little bit better. How do you get into a cadet program as someone who goes to a mom and pop Part 61 school? There are quite a few cadet programs that will allow you in that don't have strict partnership requirements. The ones that I can think of off the top of my head, I think are SkyWest and who's the other one? Republic. I don't think require you to have gone to any specific school. However, those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head. Unfortunately, going to a small Part 61 school, that's one of the trade-offs you get is you're not going to have a lot of them, and you're probably not going to be eligible for a lot of them. However, there are definitely a few more on the table. Yes, Jared, we can go fly as long as you're paying for it. Or wait until I get my big boy job, and then I can pay for us to go fly. Hey there, I'm 14 and looking into becoming a pilot. What would you say the first step is besides getting a discovery flight? Your next step, so 14, you're young, man. You can't solo an airplane until you turn 16, and you can't get your license till you turn 17. If you are really wanting to get flying now, and I've had a few students like this, fly like once a month or whatever, just to kind of get your feet wet in the door. The big thing that you can do is start studying now. The ground schools don't have any sort of expiration date, so you can get like a King Schools pilot course or a Sporty's pilot course. You're going to be able to keep using those as you get closer to that age. Really study up on it now, and by the time that you get to 16 to when you can solo, or 17, then you'll be ready. I would say, like, if you want to start flying now, absolutely go for it. Don't fly a whole lot, though. Once a month or whatever. There's going to be a lot of things that you can't do until you hit that solo requirement. So you're going to end up just doing a lot of the same things, and it's not going to be super efficient. So if you want to start flying now, fly occasionally, but don't go and start flying a whole bunch now and burn yourself out before you can even solo. How do you encourage students to read books? That is the question that I have not found the answer to. No. The best way is you give them very specific homework. You say, hey, I need you to read these pages, and I need you to do it like this. What I have done in the past is if I give a student homework and we go fly, and it's very obvious that they didn't do their homework when we get out there, even though they told me they did, then I will cut the flight short. I don't care if we just spent 20 minutes on the ground and we got up in the air for only 20 minutes, but then we started to do the thing that you were supposed to study and you didn't study. We will turn around and we will head back to the airport. and it will be such an awkward flight back that I promise you that is the one and only time that they will do that. For them, it's really kind of just a maturity thing as well. If you need to do 500 grounds with them to finally get them to teach things, that's what it's going to take. But hopefully they want to learn as much as you want to teach them, and a lot of students are going to be pretty motivated on their own. I'm currently working as a firefighter, and I'm looking to start flight school. I'm hoping to become a CFI. Would my current schedule, which consists of 24 hours on and 48 hours working with teaching CFI? You're probably not going to be able to get a job at a flight school with that schedule. Most flight schools nowadays, they want you to be a full-time available, at least 40 hours a week, kind of on set days during normal business hours. However, the option of being in independent CFI is always on the table. It's going to take a lot more networking. It's going to be tough to kind of be able to meet everyone and get kind of that good clientele base built up. But if you want to work for a flight school, that's probably not going to work. However, if you want to be an independent CFI, you should be able to make that work. What would you recommend new instructors do to get hired? I'm struggling to find employment right now with only 330 hours. Love the vids. Find opportunities that you can. First off, the biggest thing when it comes to any aviation hiring is network. Network. Hang out at airports. Get to know everyone there. Get to know the important people, the chief CFI or the person in charge of hiring, the general manager, airport manager, whoever it may be. In today's market, it's going to be really tough to find a job, kind of just what I've seen with just a CFI. Most schools require at least CFI II, and a lot of them even are now starting to require MEIs. I do think that the hiring market for CFIs is going to improve here soon, just like the hiring market in regionals and majors is going to improve, so that should make it a lot easier. The people that I've seen get jobs are the ones that get all dressed up in a suit and tie and print out their resume and actually go into the airport and hand the person in charge of hiring their resume. Don't just email them. Don't just apply online. No one's ever going to read it when they get people coming in. So if you're able to, go into different schools, make a day trip out of it. Could be fun. Go on like a little road trip and just hit as many flight schools as you can. If you hit enough of them, eventually one of them is going to call you back. Is flying 3 times a week too much starting to earn the private pilot's license? No, not at all. I think 3 times is the perfect amount. 4 times can start to get a little draining and you'll get burned out, but 3 times is great. 2 times is, I think I would prefer 3 times, but 2 times is okay. Once a week is the kind of bare minimum, because you end up having such long gaps in there that you forget stuff, and then you have to spend time relearning stuff to get kind of just caught back up on just where you were at. So no, 3 times a week is the perfect amount, I would say. All right. This is a blast. Like I said, I've never done any sort of live stream like this. So the fact that we're actually getting so many questions and so many people tuning in and watching, this is awesome. I was full on expecting to sit here and talk to one person or no people for the entire time that we were doing this. So the fact that so many of you guys are watching this is just incredible. So genuinely, thank you. You guys are awesome. So it's 4:58 right now, my time zone. I have to go Uber because I have to actually go make money tonight. So we'll go for a little bit longer, and then we'll have to cut it off. So just wanted to say a quick thank you for everyone watching. This has been awesome. And the horizontal live stream, which has been exactly what we've been doing here, will be posted as a normal video to the channel. So if you want to watch the rest of it, you're only watching. You've only caught bits of it. It'll be on the channel here soon. So awesome. All right, get back to it. Hi, I'm 19 and I'm going to start private pilot's license soon once winter is over, and then as I finish my private pilot's license, go to Utah State for their 141 flight program. Is that a good route to take for both CFI jobs and an airline? Yeah, I would say so. So you get a couple trade-offs, right? Going to a 141 program through university obviously looks fantastic on a resume. Plus, it takes your 1,500-hour requirement down to only 1,000 hours, right? Oh, excuse me. Coke is making me burp. However, with that being said, right, it's going to take you at least 4 years to earn your certificates, and probably another at least year, probably closer to a year and a half on top of that of instructing to build up your hours. So that's going to make the whole process take 5.5 years, right? That's great. It's going to make you competitive. However, if you do it at a mom or a local Part 61 school, like a local mom and pop school, you can probably fly a lot more frequently. You can finish those ratings a lot earlier, hit your 1,500 hours a lot earlier. You'll need to get all the way to 1,500 hours as opposed to just the 1,000 hours that you would need at a school. But you would finish a little bit sooner. You wouldn't stand out quite as much, in my opinion, as someone that went to a university program in the hiring market, but you would get done a lot quicker. So, also on top of that, there's other options like ATP as well. So, oh, I just got a $20 super chat. Thanks so much. That's awesome. What's your gamer tag? Let's play Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. Maybe we'll do a fly-in on Flight Sim. That's always an option. Actually, so I was thinking about doing a live stream where I think the newest Flight Sim has like a flight training mode, and I'm going to have some time in between when I stop CFIing and when I go off to the airlines. And I was thinking about doing a live stream or a video where I get my private pilot's license in Flight Sim. So that's awesome. I'm starting ATP in January, Austin, Texas. Thoughts? Treat it like a full-time job. For me, it was the hardest thing that I have ever done, and I drastically underestimated the time and energy commitment that it was going to take to be successful in that program. It is very, very tough, very time-consuming. Study your butt off. Treat it like a full-time job. Don't think you can just go to the airport, fly, and then go and work another job, or go and go to the gym for 3-4 hours a day or anything like that. Like it's going to take up almost every minute that you will be awake. So tips, tricks, anything you can say to help before I start. Kind of the same things with the last one. Study your butt off. For every hour that you spend in the plane, spend 2 to 3 hours on the ground. Know what you're going to get yourself into. Besides like the more practical stuff, just know that it's not going to be a smooth ride. It's not everybody is going to hit plateaus, and everyone is going to have times where they stall out, and it's going to be very, very tough. I mean, there's a reason that 80% of people drop out before they ever earn their private pilot certificate. So it's going to be tough. It can be very demoralizing at the same time, but at the same time, you just need to remember why you got into it in the first place. Remember that like you got into this because you wanted to learn how to fly, right? Maybe there's some deeper motivation. You've always loved airplanes, anything like that. Hoping the super chat will let you do one last DoorDash. Oh, thanks, man. But keep your head up. Understand and go into it with the mindset that it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. And if you have that mindset and don't just go in thinking that it's going to be a piece of cake, you'll be just fine. Remember that when it gets hard, you're flying a freaking airplane. How cool is that? Oh, another super chat. Thanks so much, guys. Oh, you guys are awesome. Okay. That's so fun. That's so cool. Thank you, guys. Hi, Hayden. I love your videos. I'm currently working on private pilot's license in Canada. I was wondering if you were nervous sending your first student solo first few flight tests and when those nerves left. I was a nervous mess when my first student went and soloed. Obviously, like looking back on it, I had full confidence in them and they would be just fine. But man, your first solo, because you have to think about it, like nobody has flown with this student besides you. So if you forgot to teach them something, they don't know it. And it's so easy to overlook not teaching certain things, especially at the beginning when you're new, because there's so much stuff to handle. But even like sending students to check rides, even though I have full confidence in them, I'm still more nervous than my students are for their check rides half the time. So Absolutely. 100% without a doubt. I was nervous for my first solos. Even nowadays, I'm still nervous for my for check ride sense to go. So when those nerves left, I think as I got more experience, they gradually kind of dwindled down a little bit. But no, I mean, my airline interview, I was probably the most nervous for that. So I don't think the nerves ever completely leave. You might get better at managing them, but I don't think they ever leave. If I'm waiting for a check ride for PPL, is it okay for me to start learning IFR in the sim? Does that count towards my IFR commercial ratings without a private pilot's license? Yes, it does. As long as you are with a double I instructor, that time can definitely count towards it. As long as you're staying as proficient as possible on your private pilot stuff, then yes, then I would say that you can start working towards your instrument. However, if you start sacrificing the private knowledge in terms for instrument stuff, that's when you're going to start to struggle. So, good question. Do you want to work for airlines? Yes, absolutely I do. And I'm actually going off to airline training here in about 3 weeks. So, after 2.5 years of instructing, I'm going on and I'm moving up to the airlines. So, how was it to be a CFI? Great question. It was the most stressful and yet most rewarding part that I've had of my life so far. It's very, very long days for fairly little pay. However, just being able to like shake a student's hand after they pass their check ride, or send a student solo for their first time is just such an incredible feeling. I loved my time as a CFI. It made me into a way, way better pilot than I was before I became a CFI. I'm definitely going to miss it. However, I'm excited to move on to other things. Can you find ways around being a CFI to get to the airlines? In today's market, that's going to be pretty tough. There are options like, I'm sorry if I just made everyone's ears blow up by nudging my mic. It's going to be tough. There's options like pipeline patrol or skydive pilot or banner towing. However, those jobs are pretty few and far between. And I think from kind of personal experience, CFIs or airlines really prefer CFI time. However, if like you've got a really good resume and you're really good at networking, there's other options. Absolutely. Tips for night landings. Understand that the first couple that you do, you're probably going to slam it. Besides that, you'll get the hang of it after a couple and it'll feel just like a normal landing. How were your flight lessons? I heard 2 hour. Oh, how long were your flight lessons? 2 hours is the most common. What do you think of a 3-hour flying lesson? When you're first getting out, you hit the point of diminishing returns very, very quick. So most of my training flights that I do with students are going to be around the like 1.3 hours to an hour and a half mark. Anything over that, it's just so different from what you're used to that it becomes very exhausting and the learning just isn't as strong. The occasional longer one isn't a horrible idea. However, overall, I would say about an hour and a half to 2 hours is really the sweet spot, especially for your private. Down the road, once you get to your instrument and commercial, once you're kind of used to it, longer flights are definitely a good idea. Are you a CFII? No, I'm not. I wish I was. Congrats on the 121 gig. Oh, thanks, man. What was your timeline from the start of PPL to classing up at the airlines? So I took a big break in there. When I first started flying, I started flying back when I was high school, and I did like 20 hours when I was in high school. And then I graduated high school in 2020 during COVID. So flight training took a break. After that, I took like a year off flying, and I ended up getting a job at FedEx Express at the Indy Airport for about a year. And that's what really got me kind of back into flying. And then from there, it took me about 6 months to get my private. And then another year to get instrument commercial and about 6 months after that. So all in all, as of today, I think I've been flying for just over 5 years. If we're not including the first couple hours that I did back in high school, then I think we're just about 4 years. Do you need to be good at math to be a pilot? Nothing beyond just like kind of basic multiplication and division. You're not going to be doing complex trigonometry in the airplane. Just basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Some mental math is definitely going to help you out as well. What about twice a day lessons after private? After private, I think that it's beneficial. Same thing with before, or same thing as while you're in private. I would say stick to one a day because you're going to be doing so much on the ground anyways that you're not going to have time and the brain power to do 2 lessons in a day. So during your private, stick to 1 2-hour lesson a day max. After that, during instrument and stuff, if you're feeling mentally fit and ready to go, then absolutely you can consider doing more. Would you rather do instructor rating than possible to get hired locally, or do instrument rating than possible to get hired overseas? Like I don't have any sort of experience with anything international. All of my training has been done in the U.S., and that's really all I know about. So personally, I think I'd rather just stay in the U.S. for all of it. But if there's other opportunities that I don't know about abroad, then absolutely it wouldn't hurt. So this is awesome. Once again, thank you to the 2 guys that sent the super chat. You guys are going to let me Uber a little bit less tonight. So you guys are the bomb. And just thank you for everyone watching. This is so much better than I expected it to be. Genuinely, I was expecting to just talk to myself and go through kind of questions that I've gotten on like old videos and end up just not talking to anybody live. So this is incredible and way better. So thank you for watching. I mean it. If you're starting out today, what is your opinion on purchasing an aircraft with 2 other partners in order to pursue full-time flight training? It's not a bad idea. Let me say that. However, I've seen it. Have you ever given up on being a pilot? I'll come back to that in a second. But yes, absolutely. The fail rate, the dropout rate for private pilots is about 80%. Only about 20% that start actually finish their rating. So you have to be very careful about buying an airplane because you might get 10, 20, 30 hours into it and you might think, man, this sucks. This isn't for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you're just sitting on this huge asset. To what I tell people that want to go all the way to a career with it, if this is for career. If you're just doing it as a hobby and you want a plane to fly around as a hobby or for work or whatever, then yeah, buy a plane right away. But I would encourage you to get your private pilot at a school where you can rent. And then if you're still dead set on it, then go ahead and get a plane. That's personally what I would do. That way you know that you're really into it. Have you ever given up on being a pilot? Have you ever thought about giving up? Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone that has done this at some point has questioned it. I think that's why I took such a long gap after my first 20 hours when I was in high school compared to when I came back. And even then I took gaps in between my ratings because it's very challenging. It's very stressful. It's very tough. So everyone is going to question if they should do it or not, unless it's just somebody that has been 100% their lifelong passion, then absolutely. What hours are you at now? And have you tried have any other jobs opened up you've considered to try out before your time at the airlines, feeder, pilot banners, etc.? No, the only thing that I would consider, move my mic a little closer because I'm leaning back. Sorry if this is super loud for everybody. The only other job that I would consider outside of instructing before I went to the airlines would be some sort of like 91 gig, like a company or a person owns an airplane and they want to pay me to fly them around. That's absolutely something I would do. I don't really have an interest in doing things like banner towing or anything like that. I've enjoyed my time instructing, and I think that I would do that over over anything else. But I had another thought there and I lost it. So no, I think it would be either airlines or I would stick with instructing. Another option that you see a lot of people do is the 135 route. Typically, that's going to be kind of I'm not a big fan of their schedule. It's typically 7 on, 7 off, and that's not something that interests me. So I like the airline schedule. I'm going to Tuskegee, Alabama University next year as transcend student to be a pilot. What advice would you give? Study your butt off. And really the thing that I've been trying to hammer home for a while is understand that you are going to have really tough days. Understand that it is going to be hard. Remember your why. Remember why you got into it in the first place, and you'll be just fine. There's no such thing as studying too much. So study your butt off. And also, if you're able to, take time to do fun flights. That's something that, like, if you go to a university program or an accelerated program, it's something that you don't really do. Is just take a plane up and go and fly around and have fun, or go and get dinner. That's absolutely something that you should do. It helps kind of reignite the passion. And at a lot of 61 schools, a lot of mom and pop schools, if you ask your instructor to do that, then they would be more than happy to. It breaks the monotony for them just as much as it does you. More live streams at this time, please. Okay. We could definitely do more live streams. I mean, thanks for everything and good luck on your new opportunity. We'll all be rooting. Well, thank you, Sam. I will absolutely do more live streams. This has been an astonishing success compared to what I expected it to be. So we will absolutely do more live streams. I'm amazed at how well this went. So if a student goes solo early and another student goes a little late, how can the student who went solo later work out to be a very skilled pilot and better than others? All that give more live streams and go Microsoft Flights with subs. I might do the Microsoft Flight Sim with subs. That'd be fun. I don't think, and I think almost every instructor and any professional pilot, anyone past kind of the private pilot level would agree with me, is the time it takes you to solo is irrelevant in how good of a pilot you'll be. All it really does is it talks about how long it takes for you to learn how to land the plane, which some people, I mean, they nail right away, but they might get 10 more hours in and they can't for the life of them figure out how to plan across country, right? So all it does is it shows you how long it took for you to land the plane. It doesn't have anything to do with how good of a pilot you are. I think the people that take a little bit more time, I mean, one of the hardest things about being a CFI is there's so many possible things that could happen in flying, right? There's an infinite amount of possibilities. Someone who gets their private pilot's license at exactly 40 hours, they're going to experience so much less real world flying than someone that took 70 or 80 hours to get their private pilot's license. Because us as CFIs, I mean, we can't recreate and simulate every single situation that could be thrown at you, right? So the longer that it takes for you to solo, I think you get more real world experience. It has nothing to do with, I think that could set you apart. Absolutely. I'm in aviation college right now. Is it a good idea to work as a CFI and studying for a degree? Absolutely. If throughout my time as a CFI, I've seen quite a few other CFIs who, as they are instructing, they're getting their degree online. And I think that's a good idea. On top of that, what a lot of people don't realize is you can actually take a lot of your certificates and they will transfer over to college credit. It's going to be a little bit different depending on which college you look at, but most online colleges, from what I've seen, they'll take your ratings and they will give you like an equivalent of college credit for it. So for me, I don't have a degree, but I fully plan on getting my degree when I'm at a regional, when I have a little bit spare time and some spare funds to allow me to pay for it. And a good chunk of my degree is already knocked out since I've just gotten my certificates, even though I've never taken a college class in my life. Do you have to be a fast learner to be a pilot? No, I don't think so. If you're not a fast learner, if you're not good at learning, if like let's say it's been a while since you've been in school, or you're just not a good student. I was not a good student at all. My work ethic in high school was non-existent, and even in flight training, it was just like no. You have to put in more effort. You have to. It's more about effort than natural ability to learn things. If you're not great at learning new things on the fly, then you're going to have to put in more time and effort to it. But absolutely, you don't have to be a fast learner. Any tips for someone starting the hour building phase? Treat it like a privilege that you get to go fly every day. It's going to seem like a grind, especially if you're doing the same thing every single day. Take a minute, take a breather, and understand like you're getting to fly airplanes. This is exactly what you've been working towards for the entire time that you've been in training. Also, like if you're moving on to becoming a CFI or any sort of professional pilot, try really, really hard to have a work-life balance. Have a strict schedule of when you will be available to fly, but also have a strict schedule where you are unavailable so you can focus on the stuff that you want to do and have a life outside of flying. All right, so we are at an hour and 54 minutes on the live stream. We'll get to 2 hours and then we'll call it, so I can go Uber tonight and drive people around for the next 6-7 hours. I love it. I love your solo hours comparison answer. So many students judge other students by how long it took them to solo. No, man. I mean, past like when you're talking to other solo pilots, you are never going to be asked how long it took you to solo. I got asked that obviously when I was a student pilot, but since I got my private, and especially not nowadays, even with us CFIs who love to compare ourselves to each other, I don't even think that any of us CFIs have asked each other when it took them to solo. I mean, it's irrelevant. Yeah. It feels good to solo early, but I think if it takes you a little bit longer, that means you probably learned more and you'll be a little bit better prepared. Would it be worth it to get my PPL, then go to a flight academy, or do it all at a flight academy? No, absolutely. I would say get your PPL at a Part 61 school before you go out to somewhere like that. A mom and pop flight school, you're going to get exposed to a lot of real world type flying, especially like at an untowered airport in the middle of nowhere. You're going to experience a lot of different scenarios. Whereas once you go to the flight academy, it's going to be very, very structured and okay, this is exactly what you're going to do. It's also probably going to be quite a bit cheaper to get your private at a Part 61 school and then go to an academy. Even if you're considering going to like a university, college program for it, a lot of them love if you come in with your private as well. Advice on getting grants and getting help to pay for school. I think it's AOPA, Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, has a list of scholarships. A list of scholarships on their website. I would just go through and apply to every single one that you're eligible for. They do a pretty good job of keeping that up to date. So that would be my best advice. Getting help paying for school. I mean, in today's day and age, almost everyone finances it. As much as I don't want to necessarily like recommend financing it, that's just kind of how it is nowadays. CFI salary is better than regional pilot? No, not even close. I will probably make 3 times as much as I did as a CFI my first year at a regional. Best headphones that you recommend? I personally use Bose A30s. Now they are very, very expensive, and I didn't get them until I started instructing. Before that, I think I had the, it was a KORE, I think it was the brand Core headset that I bought off Amazon for like $200. And I used that for all of my training. And then once I became a CFI, when I was spending 6, 7, 8 hours in a plane, that's when I had to splurge and buy the better headset because my head was just throbbing after every single flight. I love all these questions, man, but you guys have had me talking like this for 2 hours straight. This is awesome. So much better than I expected it. I know I've been saying this a bunch lately, but thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this. So we only have about a minute and a half left on the stream, so I kind of just want to take the last couple minutes and just talk. And a lot of you guys know that I'm going off to airline training in the next couple weeks, and I would love to say that I'm going to keep posting videos and doing stuff like this while I'm in training. However, I'm thinking that everyone that I keep telling that is, oh, you were the only fun person on TikTok. Well, thank you. Everyone that I've talked to keeps telling me I'm not going to have time to post videos and do stuff while I'm in airline training, so I'm starting to believe them, which is kind of a bummer. However, once I get back from airline training, you better believe that I'm going to spend way more time and energy dedicating to YouTube. I want to, like, so far, all I do is I sit down and talk to the camera and read a script, right? I don't get to do any fun editing. I don't get to do anything like that. So once I have some more time and more energy, I plan on completely, like, blowing up this channel. So thank you for everyone that has taken the time to hang out with me today. If you were here for the full 2 hours, I don't know how you did that to yourself. I think my voice is starting to go, but this has been, I know I've said this a bunch, but this has been absolutely incredible. I had the idea of doing a live stream today, like 2 hours before I went live, and then came home and messed with figuring it out. And I totally expected to just be sitting here talking to myself the whole time. I didn't expect to have so many people watching. So this has been incredible. And yeah, I got quite a few comments from you guys that said that you want to see that us do more live streams. So I will absolutely do that in the future. So this has been awesome. I think that's all I've got for you. I'm going to go Uber. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been awesome. This entire video will be posted as an actual video on the YouTube channel here. When I'm done with it, I'm going to trim it up just a little bit, but all right. I don't really know how to say goodbye, so I'm just going to say goodbye, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya!